All right, now we're going to do reverse. And this is a very common interview question, to be able to reverse a linked list. And this one is complicated. So it's pretty straightforward what we're going to try to do here. It's just going to be a method called reverse, and it's going to reverse the linked list. So I'm just going to jump into this. So it's going to look something like this. We're going to take head and tail and switch it like that. And then we're going to, one by one, take the arrows and point them the other way. So I want you to notice that there's a gap here. And this is the hard part of reversing the linked list, is making sure that you keep track of where everything is while you're introducing all of these gaps all the way down the linked list and continuing to reverse this until it's completely reversed. All right, so I'm going to move everything back and move this down so we'll have a little bit more room for code and whatnot. In order to switch head and tail, we're going to need a variable that we set equal to head. And then what we can do is just say head is equal to tail. And now it points to the other end. But you need that variable to get tail over to the beginning, so we set tail equal to temp. Okay, so let's walk through what we just did here. We created a temp variable. We set it equal to head. Then we said head is equal to tail. And we said tail is equal to temp. Okay, let's look at this code with the rest of our code here. This is what we have so far. And this is really the easy part, just taking head and tail and switching them. Reversing all the nodes is going to be the hard part of reversing the linked list. All right, so let's bring this up, and we're now going to create a couple more variables. We need to have something after temp. I'm just going to call it next, and it'll point to the next node after temp. We'll just set it equal to temp.next, so it'll point to the next node. And then we're going to have one that we call previous, and we'll start that out by being equal to null. So we're going to have a loop that is going to move these through the linked list as we're reversing everything. So I'm just going to move this back, and we need to create these variables. So next equals this.temp, like we just mentioned, and previous is just going to be set equal to null. So let's put these back in the diagram like this. Okay, now let's look at the code that we have created so far. We have reversed head and tail, and we have created our variables. So now we can create our for loop. So we can say next equals temp.next, and that already does equal that in the first iteration of the for loop. Temp.next equals previous. Okay, so temp.next, I just highlighted it there. We're going to set that equal to previous. So in this case, that's just going to point it to null. Previous equals temp. That's going to move that up. And temp equals next. See, this is why you need that next variable there, is it's going to enable you to cross this opening. So you have to have something on the other side of temp to be able to cross the opening. But look at now, the opening is on the other side of temp. So that's why you need previous. So let's just walk through this. We're going to say next equals temp.next. And we have to do that first because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip that arrow over on that node, and next is going to allow us to be able to cross that gap the next time we loop through this. Previous equals temp. And let's just keep running through this. We'll say temp.next equals previous, previous equals temp, temp equals next. And this will be the last time that we run through this. We're going to say next equals temp.next. Well, temp.next is null. Temp.next equals previous. That'll be our last one that we flip over. Previous equals temp. Temp equals next. And that is our for loop. So let's put this in with the rest of our code like this. And then we're going to return the entire linked list. So we'll look at this code in a second. This is going to be the linked list we create when we go over to Chrome DevTools, and then we're just going to take it and reverse it. All right, so let's flip over to DevTools. There is our code there. And here's our linked list, just 1, 2, 3. And we'll zoom out and run this. Now let's have a look at this linked list. Head is pointing to 1. If we open this up, the next value is 2. If we open this up, the next value is 3. And next points to null, which means we're at the end of the list. So that's our 1, 2, 3. And let's clear this. And we can run our reverse method. All right, press enter. And let's open up this linked list. Now head is pointing to 3. We open that up. The next item is 2. And the next item is 1. And that is our method for reverse